Sands of the Vanished, the Lost City. Unearthed Truths. A World Changed. Act 1, The Unearthing, Chapter 1. Echoes in the sand, the Sahara did not whisper. It groaned. The wind carried no mercy as it scraped across the Tanis-roofed basin. A place so barren, even Bedouin caravans avoided it. They called it the Land of Thirst, not for lack of water, but because it seemed to drink whatever dared enter. Dr. Layla Idris knelt by the trench's edge, her scarf cinched tight against the gust. Grains of sunburnt sand pricked her cheeks like needle tips. Her fingers, covered in red dust, hovered above a flat, blackened slab half exposed in the earth. It wasn't rock. It was something else. Too smooth, too cold, too deliberate. She brushed carefully. The glyph shimmered under her torchlight. 3 lines, 3 dots. Then a spiral etched so deeply, it split the material like bone cracked by a blade. She blinked. Her breath caught. "This isn't Berber," she muttered, more to herself than to Reza, her assistant, who stood 2 meters away clutching the radio like a prayer bead. "No, and not Egyptian either," Reza said, "unless the pharaohs kept secrets from their own scribes." Layla stood, the slab now fully visible. An oblong, polished surface the size of a grave marker. She ran her hand over the symbols again. The spiral was warm, not from the sun, from within. She turned toward the camp, a scatter of tents barely holding against the oncoming Sirocco. A generator flickered. Distant radio static crackled through the wind. They'd been here 6 weeks. 6 weeks of false starts, broken equipment, and bones that led nowhere. Until this. Layla reached into her satchel and withdrew her father's worn leather journal. The edges were sun-faded and cracking, and inside were pages of half-legible ramblings. Coordinates, dream fragments. A final note before his death by dehydration near this very region. "If you find the sigil of the spiral, run." But she hadn't run. She'd followed. Layla opened the sat phone and tried dialing Marcellus Vane. Nothing, only static. She didn't expect thanks. But the billionaire's funding kept this mission alive, and he demanded real results before sending his elite security contractors to evaluate. Layla didn't trust him, but she trusted his obsession with forbidden things. Zahir had drawn both of them, like iron filings to a buried magnet. "What do you think it is?" Reza asked. "Wrong question," she said. "The question is who carved it? And how did it end up 30 kilometers from the nearest historical trade route?" The wind picked up. Not natural now. It howled. Not like air rushing past, but like something exhaling. She froze. Reza turned his head, suddenly alert. And then they heard it. A low, resonant hum. Mechanical, but not. Like an engine idling inside the earth. "Is that?" Reza started. But the rest of his sentence was drowned out by the ground trembling. Just faintly. Just once, then stillness. Layla reached for her pack and activated the ground-penetrating radar. The screen buzzed. Nothing. Then lines. A buried chamber. 12 meters deep, roughly circular, and large. Reza leaned in, wide-eyed. "That's a structure." Layla didn't speak. Her mind raced. She flipped to another page in her father's journal. The spiral again. 3 lines, 3 dots, same formation. It wasn't a symbol. It was a code. Coordinates, time, and a warning. She snapped her gaze up. The sky had turned a color she couldn't name. Dust and twilight and memory fused into one. The camp generator died with a sputtering groan. The radio went dead. Reza cursed. "What the hell?" A scream cut through the wind. A woman's voice, from the ridge. Layla spun around. It was Noura, one of the surveyors, pointing into the distance. "Footprints!" Layla ran. The sand at the ridge was still disturbed. Not by the wind. By boots. Hundreds of them. Marching into the basin. Reza came up behind her, his face pale. "Military?" "No. Worse," Layla said. "Vane sent them." Just then, a black shape blinked overhead. No engine. No shadow. Just the glint of something circular and unnatural. Drone. She grabbed Reza by the shoulder. "Pack you everything. This site is compromised. We can't just leave." We can't stay, not until we know what they want. She turned back once. The glyph shimmered again. 3 lines, 3 dots, then the spiral. And this time, it pulsed as if it had seen her. Far above the Sahara, in a classified surveillance room 2 continents away, a satellite feed blinked. In the center of the image was the glyph, radiating. Below it, an annotation had just been added by a military analyst. Echo 7 anomaly confirmed. Possible reemergence of Zahir coordinates. Engage protocol blackout. Another message followed seconds later from an encrypted Vatican channel. Zahir must not rise. Deploy the order. The countdown began, and the desert groaned again. Chapter 2. Coordinates not on any map. Tana's roof basin. Your 300 hours. Latitude unverified. Signal corrupted. The drone shouldn't have been flying. The sandstorm had grounded every other aircraft in a 100-mile radius. But Model AX-99 was not every other aircraft. It ran on military-grade stealth rotors, lithium-silicon energy cores, and an AI calibration protocol originally designed for Martian terrain mapping. It also wasn't supposed to be watching her. High above the trench where Layla Idris had unearthed the glyph, the drone's scanner pulsed through the sand in invisible waves. At precisely 3:04 a.m., it blinked, then paused. The onboard algorithm failed to classify what it had just recorded. Beneath the surface of the desert, 12 meters below, a near-perfect circle had appeared on the LiDAR. Not just empty space, architecture. Worse, something was moving inside it. Marcellus Vane viewed the live feed from a black tent, 50 kilometers north, fingers steepled under his chin. The feed wasn't being transmitted through the open web. It bounced through 3 private satellites, 2 proxy servers in Liechtenstein, and a frequency no civilian radar could detect. He tilted his head as the thermal mapping overlay flickered. "Magnify," he said softly. The image zoomed. Then again, the shape was unmistakable. A dome. Beneath it, striated lines and hexagonal channels, mechanical in pattern, organic in placement. A hybrid geometry that defied natural evolution. One of the guards in the tent leaned closer. "Sir, that's not man-made, is it?" Vane didn't blink. It was made by something. That's all that matters. The guard swallowed. "Shall I inform the Algerian authorities?" Vane's stare hardened. "What part of Off-Book did you misunderstand?" A pause. "Retrieve it, now, before Idris does something reckless." The feed trembled again. This time, the anomaly pulsed, like a heartbeat. Back at Layla's dig site, the generator coughed back to life in stuttering fits, casting fractured light across the perimeter. Reza crouched by the radar interface, tapping its screen, smacking its side. Still nothing stable. Layla stood over him, holding her father's journal open to a page he'd never shown the public. A triangular grid, coordinates scrawled in messy pen right here. 30. But the middle value had been smeared into a blur, as if erased by a hand that shook. She plugged the values into the tablet's local map overlay. It blinked red. Coordinates invalid. Unregistered. Impossible. Unless... She looked up. "Reza, calibrate the radar. Try scanning 10 meters deeper." Reza hesitated. "We're already pushing power limits. Do it." A pulse. Then another. On screen, a line appeared. Then 2 more. A circle. A structure roughly the size of the Colosseum. Hidden directly beneath them. Reza gasped. That wasn't there before. Layla's voice dropped to a whisper. "It was always there. We just weren't looking properly." The screen continued rendering. Within the circle, a 6-pointed star emerged. At the center, a spiral. Reza stepped back. "This is a map." Layla didn't respond. Her mind spun through fragments of her father's final expedition notes. Mentions of magnetic interference, mirage phenomena, whispers in the sand, and then one final entry. "I found the door. It opened into nothing. But the nothing knew me." Half a world away, in a cluttered office in Berlin, a historian named Dr. Clara Voigt sat upright in bed, as her encrypted email pinged with a header she hadn't seen in 20 years. Zahir, active. She blinked. That name hadn't crossed her eyes since 2006, when she translated a Nazi expedition report stamped Geheim, top secret. A mission led by the Ahnenerbe. Disappeared. Filed under mythological site suppression. She opened the attachment. A drone scan. The spiral was unmistakable. Her hand trembled as she reached for the locked drawer in her desk. Inside was a file marked Wüstenstadt, Desert City. She hadn't dared speak its real name until now. Layla stood motionless above the sand, staring out at the nothingness. The air was still now. Too still. No wind. No hum. Only the faint clicking of Reza's device behind her, and her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. And then it came. A flicker on the horizon. Light. Not sunlight. Something glowed, just once, where nothing should be. Did you see that? Reza called out. Layla didn't answer. She was already walking. The coordinates had been wrong because the map was outdated. The desert had changed. Or more precisely, it had changed them. Chapter 3. The sponsor arrives. The sky had turned the color of rust when the engines shattered the silence. Layla Idris looked up from the glyphs just as the air began to hum. Low, metallic, and unnatural. It wasn't wind, not anymore. The sound came from above. A shadow sliced through the horizon. Sleek, predatory. A private jet modified for vertical desert descent. Its wings folding like a bird of prey. 6 black rovers encircled the dig site minutes later. Their arrival throwing clouds of dust over half-buried relics and half-written notes. Reza dropped his pen. That's not a scheduled flight. No, Layla said. It's a declaration. The man who emerged wore a sand-colored suit, tailored and precise, like it had been stitched into his spine. Marcellus Vane walked without hurry, without hesitation, and without a single grain of sand touching him. Somehow untouched by the desert that swallowed everything else. His guards fanned out without orders. Their rifles were slung, but not relaxed. One scanned the dunes. Another knelt beside the generator, like he owned the air it exhaled. Dr. Idris, Vane said, not offering his hand. I heard you found something. Layla didn't answer right away. Let him speak first. Let him hang on his own silence. You're early, she finally said. He smiled, just enough to unsettle. No, he said. You're late. The desert's been waiting for decades. She nodded toward the slab. What is this to you, Marcellus? A trophy? A trade secret? Or are you just collecting things the world was meant to forget? His eyes flashed, briefly, like someone glimpsing lightning inside their own skull. Zahir isn't just a myth. It's the great omission, he said. And omissions are where truth hides best. Layla felt her throat tighten. He said the word like it was a lover's name. Not a city, not a ruin, a promise. Reza stepped closer. We haven't confirmed anything. The structure is breathing, Vane interrupted. Layla blinked. You felt that too? I felt it for years. He stepped toward the glyph, crouched, didn't touch it. Men like him never needed to. They let other people touch things, bleed for things, die first. The same glyph appeared in a Vatican codex sealed since 1449. Also on the walls of a forgotten chamber in Iceland, carved long before the Norse arrived. But you're standing on the largest imprint yet. He rose, brushed invisible dust from his knee. Congratulations, you found the navel of the myth. Now step aside before you break it. Layla's voice was steel. This isn't yours. He tilted his head. You think this belongs to anyone? She didn't answer. He took a step closer. Your father died looking for this. The silence between them cracked like dry bone. You knew him, she said. I knew his obsession. You let him die. I let him try. Layla stepped forward, close enough to smell the desert on his jacket. The coolness that clung to a man who always had someone else sweating for him. You're not here to discover anything, she said. You're here to wake it. A pause. Then Vane smiled. Not cold, not cruel, patient. I don't believe in sleeping giants, he said. I believe in what happens when they remember. He turned toward his men. Secure the site. Anything with glyphs gets scanned and sealed. Anything that pulses gets quarantined. One guard moved toward the trench. Layla blocked him. Over my dead. Vayne raised a finger. The guard stopped. I prefer we didn't spill blood. It complicates paperwork. Layla glared at him. You think this is a negotiation? No, Vayne said. It's a rescue mission. I'm here to save history from people who keep trying to forget it. He leaned in close. You've already triggered it, Layla. You just don't know how badly. Then he walked away. Behind him, the sand began to shift. Not blow, not scatter. Shift, as if stirred from beneath. Reza whispered, Tell me that's the wind. Layla didn't respond, because it wasn't.